After the fall of the Gaddafi regime in 2011, an interim government took control of the country. This temporary government, called the General National Congress, or GNC for short, was charged with the task of creating a permanent democratic constitution for Libya. The GNC was designed as a temporary authoritarian figure, but failed to relinquish its power in January 2014. This led to an armed conflict between the Islamic-led GNC and former General Khalifa Haftar, who was opposed to the extended power mandate imposed by the GNC. On the surface, this conflict could be seen as a fight for power between Islamic and Arab nationalists. However, there are multiple factors at play, including regional rivalries, false parliaments, and militia factions. There are also multiple parties involved in this conflict, the first of which being the government. When the General National Congress failed to relinquish power, a second interim government was created on the side of General Haftar. It was called the Council of Deputies. When Islamist groups took over Tripoli, the majority of this council fled the city. Officials say that Islamist militias are stronger than the government itself, and that they can do very little until the Islamist forces lose their power. This government has asked other powers of the world to help stabilize the country.
Now to our next story now. In Libya, the death toll continues to rise in an offensive launched by a retired army general against militants in the eastern city of Benghazi. According to the latest official figures, nearly 80 people have been killed and more than 140 injured in violent clashes that began on Friday. Khalifa Haftar's loyalists, known as the National Army, have used air and ground forces against the militants held up in the region. The Libyan government and parliament have declared Haftar's army outlaws and have denounced their operation as a coup attempt. The government forces have also declared a no-fly zone over Benghazi, but so far Haftar has defied the decree, saying his group will continue operations to flush out what he calls terrorists from Benghazi.
A second player in the Libyan conflict is General Khalifa Haftar. He is the highest profile individual known to be fighting against the Islamic militia. This past May, his offensive captured the Islamic-dominated parliament, the General National Congress, that has since been dissolved. In recent months, Haftar's offensive has been losing steam due to the suspicions about his political ambition and his aggressive stance against even moderate Islamic groups. The third key player in the Libyan conflict is the Islamic militia. This group is made of many different Islamist factions banding together to produce a loose alliance called the Dawn of Libya. This group was able to seize the airport and other parts of Libya's capital city, Tripoli, during fighting against General Haftar's forces. This group of Islamists are very well armed and pose as a serious threat in the fight for control of Libya. The conflict in Libya is currently ongoing and has been since May of 2014. Because the government has little power, extreme Islamist groups are able to operate freely and without impunity. This is not good for the country or its citizens, as militia groups are allowed to carry out public executions with no one to stop them. While researching for this project, I found the lack of media attention quite surprising. I think with current media technologies, conflicts like this should be brought under public eye, and the people of other nations should be aware of what's happening. Only then would we increase our chances of having this conflict resolved.